Okay, this is about something that I think is particularly an important issue, and it's hard for me to talk about, but I feel that I need to say it because, yeah, you'll know why soon. I might have to do this in 2 videos or maybe even 3, I'm not even sure, but we'll see what happens. But over the last few months, I've heard a lot of people at my school talking horrible things about their mother, and not in the heat of anger, but because they don't appreciate their mum, you know. And I feel that this is an issue, and I hate it, and I have a personal reason for hating it. I mean, everyone fights with their parents. Everyone, sits there and says things about them in the heat of anger. That's fine. Heat of anger, like, it happens. But when you're actually saying horrible things about them just because, you feel they owe you some fucking iPod because they're your parent and they are obligated to buy you shit, well then you got issues. But I have a personal reason for not liking that, and that's particularly because my mum passed away in June in a car accident, and it wasn't her fault. It was basically, it's all very complicated, but yeah, she got T-boned by a bus and she died 7 times on the way to the hospital, and it was not good. They had to use the jaws of life, all sorts of shit. It was the most fucked thing ever. And it was intense. It was an intense time for me, and it still is. Like, things aren't finished with it. I still have to go through all this shit with her estate, all the things, like all the money that she had and her property that she owned and stuff. Which, I hate that I have to do that. I'd rather my mum be alive over anything, but, And I feel people just don't appreciate their mums, and I want people to hear my story because I want them to realise what they have and hopefully appreciate their mum before it's too late. Not that I had any problems. I'm sure my mum realised that I loved her and I appreciated her when she was alive, but, it's sad. But it was an intense time, and it was made so hard by the fact that my mum died in Western Australia, like, because she lived over there to work. She came from New South Wales, and this is where all her family is. So the funeral didn't even happen for at least 2 weeks afterwards because we had to get her transported over here and stuff, and I didn't get to rest. It's not like after I found out that my mum passed away that I got to have time to myself. I was pretty much every day afterwards talking to, organising stuff with the funeral director of how the funeral was going to be, buying coffins, buying crypts, all that stuff. It was fucked. It was absolutely fucked, and I wish no one ever had to go through that, and I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. It's awful. And the thing is, my mum was really young. My mum was only 42, I'm only 22, my younger brother is 19, and I have a younger sister that's 15. So we're all young, and we lost our mum at a young age. And neither of us have kids or are married, so it's even more saddening for the fact that our mother is not going to see us go through those big things of life, like getting married and having children, or get to see her grandchildren grow up when we eventually do have grandchildren. It's bullshit, and I don't wish it on anybody. And I just feel people really need to realise what they have, because it's not fun. Like, the time I had, and I still have, I still find it upsetting. I can talk, months, now that it's like 5 or almost 6 months afterwards, I can talk about it, and sometimes I can talk about it without crying. Other times it makes me really emotional, and I still have times where I'll just think about my mum or the events that have happened, and I'll cry. And I hate it. I miss my mum so badly. I wish I could have her back. After my mum passed away, all I could think about was how I would do anything just to have my mum, because she's my mum and I miss her, and I don't even get to hug her anymore. It's the worst thing anyone could go through. And even how sudden it happened, I found out on the day when I found out, my mum was perfectly healthy, so she she drank, but she wasn't that dumb to do drink driving. It had nothing to do with that. She was on her way to work, and because over where she lives, the roads over there in her town over in Western Australia are getting more population, and so they need to upgrade their roads to more sort of busier roads rather than, you know, country roads in the middle of like the desert and stuff. And so there wasn't really any street lights or anything, so my mum went to turn on the highway in the direction of her, like the country road in the direction of her work, and bus hit her. And yeah, it was awful. It was probably more awful in a way for even my little sister, because my little sister was actually living with her in Western Australia. She was not in the Carver. I've had people that came up with all this bullshit that my sister was in the car with my mum, which was not true. My sister was at the time still at home, probably just getting up to get ready to go to school. And I just think it's, you know, it was just hard. Like, on the day when I found out, I was sitting at home watching Metalocalypse, because I like that show, and I got a call from my grandmother saying that she got a call from my little sister that my mum had been in a car accident. And obviously I was stressed about that, and I'm going to do another video